It's time for another edition of Lewis at Large, 60 minutes of smart talk radio featuring guests from all walks of life in conversation with your host, Warner Lewis. So sit back and lend us your ears for the next hour. Now here with today's first guest is the host of Lewis at Large, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And of course, that means once again some smart talk radio is in your future, and this segment certainly no exception. Got a special guest, Barbara Selwig Brown. She is the host of the TV cooking show Stress-Free Cooking and author of the companion cookbook. She's also the official food blogger for the Italian Trade Commission. We'll talk to her a little bit about that. And she has been interested in and in the food business and talking about food for quite a long time. Brand new work called Secrets of Healthy Cooking, a guide to simplifying the art of heart-healthy and diabetic cooking. Barbara, how are you, my friend?
I'm just fine, thanks. I'm delighted to be chatting with you today.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Diabetes, we won't spend a lot of time specifically on the disease, but share with our Lewis at Large listeners, if you would. Diabetes and diet, boy, there's no two things closer connected, are there?
Absolutely. And oftentimes, if you can control your diet, you can control your diabetes without excessive medications. So that's why the American Diabetes Association is so willing to publish cookbooks so that, they make those who really do need to control their diet, they make it much easier for them. And I'm just thrilled to death to be part of that because it's such a worthwhile cause. I love cooking, and what better way to spread the message than to try and help people with their diet?
Well, again, we know that you're the host of Stress-Free Cooking, that TV show, but tell us why your interest so much in food and cooking. How did that all begin?
Well, I come from an Italian family, and so food and the table was always very, very important. And fortunately, my mom and my grandmothers were wonderful cooks. And I just come by it naturally that, that's part of your lifestyle is cooking and cooking together. And, I try to encourage a lot of my friends and my viewers and my readers to cook with friends these days because when I was growing up, going out to dinner was the treat. Nowadays, it seems that cooking at home is the treat because people eat out so often.
Why are we now, of all time, suddenly so interested in healthy eating, healthy cooking, local, sustainable foods? It's almost like a runaway train, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's just because the more we talk about it, the more the awareness is raised about the importance of cooking at home. And when you're cooking at home, you are much more in control of what goes into your body. So whether you're eating a certain way because of heart health or diabetes or to fuel yourself for your next workout, no matter what the reason is, or just to simply sit down and enjoy a fabulous meal with friends, you just can control it so much more, and it's just really just a healthier way to eat, just to eat at home. That's the first step. If you're eating at home, you can already check one thing off the list,
The book has the seal of the American Diabetes Association on it. Share with our listeners, if you would, a little bit. You're not really collaborating with them, but tell us what that means.
Well, actually, the American Diabetes Association published this book. They contracted me to write this book for them because they were familiar with my work. My first book was called Stress-Free Cooking, and many years ago I met one of their folks at a conference, and they liked my book, and so they came to me and they said, we'd really like you to author a book for us. And I'm happy to say this is actually the fourth book I've written for them. So we've had a wonderful relationship. The books have gone over well. But the goal of the books that I write for them is to create recipes that an entire family or an entire group of friends could enjoy. So that the person who has diabetes is not singled out, and they're enjoying a party or a holiday meal just as everyone else is.
Barbara, you mentioned the family. Let's talk about the family around the dinner table. When you think healthy cooking, a lot of people think immediately, well, that eliminates the kids, meaning the kids won't like it. But that's not really true, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, my boys, when they were growing up, they ate healthy dinners because that's what, my work was creating these recipes. So they actually were put to work by tasting them. And if kids grow up eating healthy, they think nothing of it. And actually, if you get your children involved in cooking, they also become better eaters, and they will make better choices when they're out and they're not with you.
It also seems like the mainstream grocery store chains are rapidly getting involved, if not local sustainable, certainly more organic products, more natural products, more fresh produce, more fresh meats, etc. Do you agree with that? And it's helping to keep the price down, is it not?
Absolutely. I'm thrilled with what I see going on in grocery stores these days. And when I travel, I frequently go into a grocery store or the local farmer's market or the local specialty gourmet shop, because I think you learn a lot about an area when you go into a grocery store and you see what people like, and it really teaches you a lot, not only in this country, but especially in other countries. And I think, that's really a fun thing to do when you're traveling abroad, is to go into the local markets and just see the different products that, people are using. But, we say shop the perimeter of the store. That's where most of your healthy items are. If you think about a grocery store, what's on the perimeter? Your produce, your seafood, your meat, your dairy. So if you shop the perimeter of the store and try and stay out of the aisle of prepared dinners or frozen dinners, you're way ahead of the game as well.
When you were working on this, you undoubtedly have dozens and dozens and dozens of recipes, and you had to choose ones. Were you given guidance at all on that, or how did you decide which ones should go inside the new work called Secrets of Healthy Cooking?
Well, you create recipes because of what's trending, what's available, what's in season. And this book took about a year to write, so fortunately I went through all 4 seasons. And really, as long as the recipes meet the guidelines, the American Diabetes Association is very receptive to just about anything, because they know that, everyone likes different things. So it's important to present a broad range of recipes. And I think, sometimes I look at my recipes and I tend to lean towards Italian or Mediterranean. And every so often I look at the pile of recipes that's going to go into a book and I say, okay, now you need to get out of your little box and think about somebody else. So think about the person that would rather eat Asian food or rather eat something really simple. So we try and give a wide variety of different styles of cooking.
Well, speaking of that, as you go around the globe, so to speak, whether it's English or French or Indian or Oriental or, as you mentioned, Italian, is there one particular nationality or one particular cultural style of cooking that's more healthy than others?
Well, the Mediterranean diet has been touted as very healthy for many years, and I truly believe that. The Asian diet contains a lot of fish, so that's certainly a healthy way to eat. But in this country, Italian is hands down America's favorite cuisine. Over and above all of the other types of cuisines combined, Italian is America's favorite. So, Italian is really very healthy in Italy. In this country, we tend to make it a little bit more complicated. People add a lot more cheese to things. But Italian, following the Mediterranean diet, is really a very, very healthy way of eating. And since it's America's favorite, I tend to certainly lean that way as well.
If you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. We're talking to Barbara Selwig Brown. She is the author of a brand new work called Secrets of Healthy Cooking, a guide to simplifying the art of heart-healthy and diabetic cooking. It's been endorsed by the American Diabetes Association, in fact, published by them. And interesting topic indeed. Let's jump from the book for just a second. Let's talk about stress-free cooking. Tell us about the TV show, how long you've been doing it, and what kind of things do you share there that maybe they might not read in a book of yours?
Well, Stress-Free Cooking is in its 7th season, and it airs now on an internet station that streams 24/7 called Foodie TV. And on stress-free cooking, I try and get people to realize how much fun cooking can be. I happen to love cooking. I think it's relaxing. It takes me away from the stress of, other aspects of life. I get in my kitchen. I concentrate on what I'm doing. For me, cooking is a really spiritual thing. I love to cook for those that I love. And so that's what stress-free cooking is all about. It's about getting people to understand that you could be in your kitchen, have a glass of wine, have your favorite music on, and truly enjoy cooking. And so many people say they don't like to cook, mostly because of the cleanup. So clean up as you go along, or if you're cooking with someone, and two of you are doing the work, there's certainly a lot less work for the one person who has to do the cooking and the cleanup. And we also, in stress-free cooking, we also promote keeping your home well-stocked. So we talk about, what goes into a healthy pantry, a healthy fridge, and a healthy freezer. In fact, all of my books have that pantry, fridge, and freezer list in the front of the book. So stress-free cooking is about having fun in the kitchen, and, we have a lot of interesting guests. I just recently did a show with someone who specializes in Italian charcuterie and cheese. And so we talked about putting together a cheese board and about, what great Italian salumi is. And my guest had a wonderful line. He said, all salami are salumi, but not all salumi are salami, because salumi is the general word in Italian for cold cuts and smoked things, and things like prosciutto and mortadella. So it was very interesting. It was a lot of fun for me to have this type of guest on my show. I'm
curious, as an authority on cooking and food, and particularly when it comes to healthy eating, I'm curious how, I've asked this of other guests in the past, how well or what kind of a job are public schools doing in educating young people about the merits of healthy eating? Actually, that's a great question. And I was very privileged to be an invited guest to the White House when Michelle Obama announced her initiative as First Lady, which was going to be getting schools to give our kids healthier meals. So there's a lot of work being done in schools. A lot of people like myself who go to our schools and volunteer to help plan a healthier menu. Unfortunately, some schools are working on really tight budgets, and tight budgets don't always warrant a healthy lunch for all of our kids. But, being a little bit more creative, and some of us who have, done this for a very long time and have all kinds of ideas rolling around in our head, we maybe can lend a hand and help promote healthier cooking in schools. So there is a lot being done. I mean, there's school systems where they're even doing school gardens and having the kids work in the school garden, and then they make a salad bar using items from the school garden. So I've been really impressed with some of the things I've been reading about schools and healthier lunches. So we jump back towards the book again, called Secrets of Healthy Cooking. What about those that say, you know what, I try the best I can, I try to eat healthy, but you know what, Barbara, I love macaroni and cheese. I love bread, or I love ice cream, et cetera, et cetera. Share with us a little bit. What can we do about that, and what kind of decent, healthy alternatives are there to some of those? Well, there are always low-fat products that you can use. I mean, I make macaroni and cheese with lower-fat cheeses. I use skim milk. So that's really not a very hard thing to do. But I think the most important thing is that as Americans, we are obsessed with portion size, and it's always too big. So you can still enjoy the things that you love, but perhaps you don't need to eat a huge mound of macaroni and cheese. A serving size would be a lot smaller than that full bowl of macaroni and cheese. So maybe become a little bit more familiar with serving size. And the other thing that I recommend that people do when they're trying to eat healthy is plan your day accordingly, plan your eating accordingly. If I'm going out to dinner, I might have a yogurt and some fruit for breakfast, and I might have a salad for lunch. And then when I go out to dinner, if it's a great restaurant that has something that might not be
considered so healthy, I can still sit down and enjoy it. And, of course, exercise is really important. So if you incorporate exercise into your diet, so to speak, you can also enjoy eating things that, once in a while you think are on the no-no list.
Well, let's give people a little bit of a sample from the book and some ideas that you've got. Share with us maybe an idea you've got, let's say, for an appetizer. What would be a healthy appetizer we could prepare?
Well, going with vegetables is always a great way to start. So, I try and, when I'm doing appetizers for a party, I always try and have something on the table that is a vegetable-based dish. So roasted baby vegetables with extra virgin olive oil, a little salt and pepper, and a splash of balsamic is a great appetizer. And if you buy the tiny little zucchini, tiny little patty pan, tiny carrots, it's a really quick, easy thing to do as well. So there's recipes in the book for roasted vegetables in several different ways. But another appetizer that I like to prepare is a black bean and mango salsa. Or in this book, I did it with black bean and peaches, because peaches were in season, and so I was inspired to use peaches as another option. So it's black beans that you can buy. You can buy them in a can if you need to, but when you buy something in a can, you want to drain it and rinse it really well. And the more you rinse a canned product like beans, you get rid of all the processed flavor, number one, but it also helps to alleviate some of the gas that's associated with those beans, because the juice that they're sitting in the can is absorbing all that gas. So if you rinse the beans, you use 1 or 2 peaches or mangoes, chop them up about the same size as the beans, a little cilantro chopped, some red onion or a green onion sliced thinly, and some lime juice, and just a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and you have a really healthy appetizer that you could serve with baked chips as opposed to something that's, much more fat-laden.
What about, let's move on through the meal, what about either a suggestion for a great salad, which there must be thousands from where you sit, or a soup or something? How about that?
Well, salad-wise, I always encourage people to make their own salad dressing. If you pick up a bottle of dressing in the store and you read the ingredients, most of them you can't pronounce. And I always say, if I can't pronounce it, I really don't want to eat it either. So for a salad, I love mixed greens. I love some dried fruit in it, maybe some dried cherries, or if pomegranates are in season, some pomegranate arils, some pinoli nuts or some walnuts, and then a homemade vinaigrette, which is just simply balsamic or any vinegar of your choice, some extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper whisked together, and you have a wonderful salad. And the fact that you've made your own vinaigrette makes it a lot healthier as well. And soups, you could do vegetable-based soups, a mushroom soup. Mushroom soup doesn't have to be creamy. You could make a mushroom soup with a lot of onions and some chicken broth and some white wine, and then you could puree some of the soup, and it gives you that creamier texture.
What about for a main course, and be it red meat, chicken, fish, what's one of your favorites?
Oh, well, some of my favorite dishes are braised dishes, and they can be a little bit on the higher fat side. But a tip for that would be to make one of those braised dishes, like an osso buco or braised short ribs, but make it the day ahead and refrigerate it. And then when you take it out of the refrigerator the next day to reheat it, you can simply skim off any visible fat, and that makes that dish a whole lot healthier. So things that tend to be a little bit fattier, if you make them ahead and you refrigerate them, whether it's a soup or anything, you can skim off all that extra fat, and it makes that dish that much more healthier.
And, of course, when we talk about diabetics, they are always very focused on the concept of dessert and sweets. Take us to the finish line here, Barbara, with a great dessert idea.
Well, something a little different, and we're all trying to incorporate more grains into our diet. So something that I've come up with is a polenta that is a dessert-style polenta. It has vanilla in it. It has a little bit of Splenda in it for those with diabetes. And it has some dried cherries that have been soaked in your favorite liqueur, whether it be amaretto or a cherry liqueur. And what you do is you make the polenta, but you add a little sugar, you add a little vanilla, and then you steep the cherries in the liqueur, and you put the polenta in a bowl, and then you put some of the cherries on top. And it makes a really beautiful presentation. You could do it as a layered sort of a parfait. If you do it in a wine glass, it looks gorgeous. And it's just that much more healthier because it has that grain in it and a lot less sugar than most desserts. So if you stick with fruit again in a dessert, you're a little bit ahead of the game.
Well, we've had a good conversation here, but and positive one for sure. But let's face it, diabetes is, if it's not epidemic, it is near epidemic, and particularly in America. And I'm curious as to your insights. What do we need to do here?
Well, I think that the answer is to keep eating healthier. Number one, incorporate exercise and portion control, because we are getting heavier as a population, and that does contribute to the increased incidence of diabetes. So I think we just really need to raise awareness and become more aware every day and every meal we eat what we're actually putting into our bodies.
Well, the work is called The Secrets of Healthy Cooking, a guide to simplifying the art of heart-healthy and diabetic cooking by Barbara Selwig Brown. She is the host of the TV cooking show Stress-Free Cooking. She's also been a food blogger for a long, long time. She's an official food blogger for the Italian Trade Commission. Barbara, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. How can people find out more about the work you do and maybe pick up a copy of the book?
Well, you can get the book at shopdiabetes.org or at Amazon. You could visit my website, which is stressfreecooking.com, or, of course, I have a Facebook page, Stress Free Cooking, with host Barbara Selwig Brown. So lots of ways to find me and find the books, and I hope everyone really does enjoy them.
Well, listen, thank you again for sharing your insights and the book, and we know people will run out and buy it, especially if you're concerned about eating healthy, and diabetes is a part of your life in some way, shape, or form. This is a great way to maybe get things turned around, or at least be contributing to your good health. Barbara, again, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. It was lots of fun.
You bet. We'll be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.